our fairgrounds that I can get the air conditioner on fast enough. We won't be in here very long, so we'll get out of here. Hurry, you got concrete coming, Tyler? All right, we'll be quick. Okay, we'll just follow the agenda. I think it'd be good if we just introduce ourselves one more time. Everybody has name tags. I can see most of you, so. I'm Brandon Yardley, chairman, I guess, for some reason. And Paul, let's start with you. We'll go across the front row.
I'm Paul Monroe. I'm with the Water Conservancy District. I am not a voting member of the council, just a liaison, because I'm a member of another council.
Terri Hartley from the Kanarraville Water District in Minersville.
Trustee Wiseman, conference.
Dave Harris. I'm Ealing City Council of the Water Conservancy District, and I'm the vice chair.
Yep.
Hartley Payne, I'm the Watershed Council coordinator with the Division of Water Resources.
And can you go over who's online real quick?
Yeah, online we have Jennifer. Do you want to introduce yourself really quick?
Yeah, Jennifer Marshall with Beaver County. Sorry, I'm still at work. So
Thank you. And Candace?
Yeah, I'm Candace Shively with the Division of Water Resources.
And Nick?
Nick Braithwaite. I'm with the Division of Wildlife Resources. I'm a fisheries biologist.
Thank you. And that's, I think, all we have on.
Okay. Go ahead, Paul.
All Cozzens, I'm the commissioner. Michael Craven, Division of Water Line, CICWCD office.
And what's your position over there?
I'm the regional engineer, manager of fields.
Okay.
Started about took over Nate also.
Took Nate's, okay.
He's still there. If you ever want to come in and bug him, feel free to do that.
So if anybody's mad, they'll see Nate. If they're
Yes.
happy to come see you. All right. Okay.
U.S. Mark Nelson, U.S. Extension, Beaver County.
Allred, Kanarraville, and Water Conservancy Board.
Can you say Mr. Tyler Allred?
Mayor.
Mayor, okay. Tice.
I'm Palmer, I'm the Utah Department of Ag and Food, and I work for Scott Stubbs, Parowan dog farmer, and on your.
Thanks, Scott. And our keynote speaker just showed up, Mr. Warren Peterson. So, oh, and they're busy over there. Okay, let's go. We need to approve the minutes from our March meeting. Did anybody have a chance to look at those and make any corrections? I breezed over them. I didn't read them real close. If Charlie says they're good, we'll go with that.
Fine with me.
Okay. We have a few minutes, so if you guys want to look at them, make sure we're.
This is minor, but the minutes indicate that Jennifer Marshall's representation will change from minor county school district to Minersville Lake. She was never represented as a county school district, so
Okay.
that, but that was in our minutes. It's minimal, but nonetheless.
And then we should maybe update, or it indicated the next meeting was when we had it scheduled for June. We should maybe just move that from June to today.
smart.
That works.
You know what, Carly and I will take care.
Yeah. Okay.
And I didn't introduce myself, and probably remember me, I'm Stephanie, I like the name practice test. And get it paid for, which means watching me and really steep learning curve. You are all infinitely more competent in everything that has to do with this subject area. And I'm really grateful to be around you to learn from you because we're all on the same team. And the freight train has already hit the station. And so we're going to figure this out together. At any rate, there's a protein possibility for us. There's some other people. I'll be in contact with you individually about some of that. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thanks, Stephanie. Okay, with that, I guess I'll accept the motion to approve minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes with the noted adjustments.
Okay,
Second.
got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Okay, our next item on the agenda is we need to change some of the board members. So these were recommendations from the state when they certified our council, I believe. So there's a few things that we need to do to make sure we're following all the rules. The first thing we need to do is ratify our officers again now that we've been certified as a council. So this would be the time when we can change me from the chairman to Dusty to the chairman or something. If we're good with our council officers, then we just need to do that in the form of a motion, I guess. Yeah. So if you guys are happy with the members, I'll accept the motion.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I guess not, okay. All right, the next thing we need to do is define our anchor location. And this, we've met 3 different times in 3 different places, so I have no idea what our anchor location is. I'm open for suggestions.
As long as it's been in Beaver County, I'm good.
As it is in Beaver County? Yes. We don't get anything in Beaver County, Scott.
Well, we welcome this continued meeting city offices. It's a little further for Beaver County folks, but
This
a little bit.
is Parowan more central? And those guys up here on the east
A
side,
little closer.
It's the county seat.
get this group all the way around, which makes more sense.
Everywhere I go, I drive, so. And I think we just have to define our anchor location. That doesn't mean we have to meet there every time. We can still kind of switch back and forth. We just have to have something we can put on paper as an anchor location, so. The Enix city offices are fine with me if we want to put that on for our anchor location. From what I can tell, it doesn't
We
really.
can do that, and I think it's probably wise to continue to move.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, just for record keeping purposes, I think we can put down maybe city offices, and then I think in fairness, continue to, from.
Okay,
Okay, I'll move for that, the Phoenix City office to be the anchor location.
Second.
okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Do we have to ask that? The church thing, I don't know. Okay. Item is says remove the local sponsors of reclamation projects heading, but keep the members on the council. They don't need to be under a heading. Oh, let's see. Sorry, I skipped a line. No, we'll go back to that in a minute. Change wording for a quorum from 10 members to half of all voting members. So that if we add more to the membership, we don't have to change that in the future. So our quorum will be half of all voting members, which is, I think we have 21 or 22?
You need more than. It's 20, at 21, you need.
51%.
Yeah.
Half.
50%.
So how do we write that?
I just say one more than 10.
One more than half. Okay,
Please.
at least 51%. Okay, let's go with that. We have to do that in the form of a motion? Or can that just be
Yeah, because it's a change of your bylaws.
our organizing documents?
Yeah, you're listening to that.
Okay. I'll accept the motion to change our quorum from 10 members to at least 51%.
So.
Motion by Dave, second by Scott. All in favor? Sounds unanimous to me. Okay, now we need to rearrange our members and representation. So we just need to move these, and I don't know if we have to do this in a motion or not. Seth Davie can be under mutual irrigation companies. And we can have a new category for groundwater, and Dusty Wiseman go in the groundwater category. And then we remove the local sponsors of reclamation projects. We just remove the heading and keep the members on the council. And it says they don't have to be under a heading. So,
My impression.
okay. They can just be members.
Am I wrong?
Okay. And that's all that we had to do from the state. Do we have to officially adopt the new? Do an official adoption of the new categories and the member move? I guess I'll accept a motion for that.
New categories for the state.
Okay. Motion from David. We have a second? Second from Paul. All in favor? Aye. Sounds unanimous again. Okay, yeah, you're gonna get me all up the first and then you don't have to listen to me again. So state water optimization update. We have a meeting next week. And we have decided just to do one application period each year, and that will be, it will open up first part of November, and then it'll close at the end of January. We did give away quite a bit of money last application period, but we want to stretch that out and hope for a little more in the next couple application periods. We learned a little bit through this process, and there's a few changes we're going to make, but right now the state wants us to focus on gathering data and seeing what people are actually using. We've done some trials through the universities on drip tape. They want to implement drip tape a lot heavier than they have in the past. For me, it's going to be a big challenge in our area. I think it's going to be very difficult to get the drip tape going, but I think it's something we have to look at. If there is a water savings, and that was the other thing that I argued, is we don't really know if there is a water savings. We have to actually show that in more than just a 2-acre trial. We want to see this in a big picture and then make sure it doesn't have an economic impact on farmers either, because it's quite a cost to put that drip tape in. And
With all the road problems in this area, that's the major concern.
yeah, you'll be out there with a shovel a lot digging those up. Paul.
That guy in CICWCD wants to do that. Most of the prairie dogs, he just.
And you got boulders, you got ground squirrel.
Prairie dogs, you got badgers, you got all kinds of.
So there's the university that's already partnered with Utah State. They have the linear bit there. They have all the different test plots, the different irrigation practices for the LIPA, Lisa, and Lena. I'm sure there's some other plots there that they could look at where they could do something like that. That way, potentially it doesn't involve your own money involved with it. You know, each producer that problem. It's easier to swallow for the university. But they've got a lot of prairie dogs at the university.
And Matt Yost is running that for Utah State University. He has research plots in different, not necessarily down here, but just with the drip tape. But they do with the dragon line, which is very similar to that. And those have and they have drip tape in them. I know around in Alberta, and I think about the northern states. But that would be a good idea. I'm sure we can do something like that.
And at some point, the focus from the state, they wanted to move from studies into production, and I don't know if we're ready for production yet without knowing.
Yeah, it's hard to do. That's scary.
Yeah, it's a big investment to do that. So,
Right, and the problem with this connect, I mean, that's very much his property to remove those and cost him. You know, we need to have the state, maybe if you're willing to, do the drip tape, you're allowed to remove the dogs without, you know, so it, because they can't put the dog.
right.
You have to remove them. They get you.
Just don't bring those to Beaver County, Scott, all right? We don't need any. The other part of the water optimization that they focus on, and I think it'll help some of the guys in the Parowan Valley, you guys are supposed to put meters on by 2030. They will help with buying those meters. So I would suggest you kind of look at that this next couple of years, because you've got to do it anyway. You might as well let the state help you pay for it. And spread the word over there for guys to apply for that. Those projects ranked really well this last time. The projects that are not ranking as high anymore, and Tice knows this, is putting on the pivots. Those are, some of them funded, some of them didn't, depended on kind of how they got written and which boxes got checked. And then the replacing pivots and those things, they did not want to rank or fund any of those projects. So the projects that are funding are these information projects, telemetry projects, those drip tape is funding really well. But that's, I get nervous every time I think about drip tape because of what you guys have brought up today. It's just in a real world application in our area, I don't know that it's ready to work yet. It might work up north and it might work great down here, but as soon as the research, we'll see how it works, and then maybe we'll do it after that.
It works really good for tree plots and things of that nature. Without alpha and a lot of our, it's real.
Yeah. And they use a lot in Arizona and California. I've talked about running down, going on a tour down there just to see it in action and see how they manage it, but I haven't made it that far yet. So winter times are slow times and they're not irrigating much down there either. So you just be aware, we will have another application period. Those projects for the meters especially, you guys should look at those and get those on because you got to do it anyway. So Paul.
I have two questions on the optimization. First one is kind of back to that comment with SUU. They approached me a week or so ago. They'd like to build a storage pond so they can take some of their surface water and irrigate with it. I don't know. Their question was, could they apply through that? And I said, I don't see a reason why not, but you know.
Yeah, they can apply.
We have our director, you that up down there, to look at that specific project. He says it will. He's gonna pass the word along to.
Okay.
And that application goes in and we can make. We got him out on the down there.
The other question I have on that is, do you know how much of the funds that were kind of first started out with AgOp were tied into ARPA funds and have to be expended by 2016? Are there some projects that are not moving forward where there's some projects that where there's going to be some extra money where we could maybe utilize some of that before that spending window needs to be spent?
So we funded enough projects to get rid of all the ARPA money.
Okay.
And then another like 20 million above that. Close to that, it was 18 or somewhere in. With the intent of if some of those projects didn't go through and they weren't going to use those ARPA funds, that we could use that ARPA funds for the other projects, just to make sure we got it used up by the end of 2025, is that right?
I remember 2026, but I don't know if it's the beginning of 6 or the end of 6. That's what.
We were hoping to get it done in 25, just to,
Okay.
and we made those plans, but plans still.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we should have enough time if some of those projects are turned back, we can readjust the funds and maybe even use some more on this next application period.
We received the grant last cycle. We received $1 million to reuse our effluent water to idle some center pivots. So, we put in some of that, that was a little bit laying around, a little extra, we would use it. So
you always take a little more. Okay. And I guess, question for you guys, is there something else that you would like me to ask for on the water optimization?
I just say emphasize our groundwater management basin plans. I don't be just as important as breaks all the way.
Yeah. And I did everything but flip a table over in the meeting, emphasizing that point, so. But yeah, we will keep pushing that as well, because I agree with you, it is just as important. Anything else?
would be good money to see you flip the table.
Well, they're getting heavy now, I'm getting old, I don't know if I can flip them over anymore. Okay,
It's an old Milford tradition.
yeah.
Thor Waddingham's and Milford, why he flipped over the desk in the government.
I got some attention, huh? Or got him thrown out of there, one of the two, but Thorpe didn't ever care, so.
No, he didn't.
Good for him. All right, the next item on the agenda is to get an update from Parowan Valley, their groundwater management plan, kind of where they're at on the timeline. We don't need to know the details of it too much. And then Scott and I talked the other day, and we know it's coming to our area. Whatever advice you have for us of what you would do different and what we can do to prepare for that. So Scott's going to talk about that for a minute.
So,
And then we'll go to the next one.
our Parowan Valley Water Management Plan is just about to start the 60-day appeal period, whatever, and then it will be official. Looking back at this, when we started talking about it, I mean, we talked about recharge and all these things, and it's got some of those balls moving. But you know, something we talked about the other day is some of the little things that have been done have not been metered. So I think you need to be prepared to measure everything that's been going on, that's going on right now, and then any improvements you make to that, because that's going to matter. That's going to build you, be able to kick the date down the road. You get credit for extra savings, supposedly, because you've always had runoff and you've always had recharge. But if you can do a project where you can show extra, like all the water we put in the Little Salt Lake, we're wasting. If we could show that we was putting that into the ground, that would be a huge bonus. Something else I'd recommend is, this is coming your way. We're gonna have to have meters by 2030, but I'd recommend people meter their water right now. I think it will surprise some people how much water they are using, but we need to figure out what the optimum amount of water to grow good crops is. You know, I think too much, we just think, well, a lot's better, you know? And, if you have the water, I agree. I mean, why short it? But I think if we'd work at that, my soapbox is, I think every one of us need to be working on the federal government and even our state government about our watersheds. We only divert 7.79% of the water that falls out of the sky. What if we could make that 9%? Or 9.5%. And we can't let it go into these trees. I was at the Wool Growers meeting Monday, and Matt Goebel teaches up at Snow College, was talking about the importance of grazing, you know, but he was just showing some slides about how much better grass puts the water into the soils than bare ground, and what do you really have under these pinyon juniper stands but bare ground. And then if you get up on the higher elevations where you have 200 trees an acre, Well, they're drinking a lot. So, and also the pinyon juniper. So I really think that they need to keep hearing from all of us. I've been telling my Parowan Valley friends that they need to push on these projects. And they say that's a good idea. And then they never show up to the meetings. They never write letters. They never do anything. But that's our only way out of this problem. I don't think resisting the plan, though I think we need time to do projects to help. But we've got to start the clock ticking. Because I've seen that in Parowan as it gets more and more that we're going to have it. Then people are saying, hey, what if we shut off on Sunday like we used to? You know, well, there's a savings. And, you know, there's little things that we can maybe do. And you'd have to try it. If you shut off one day a week and it starts burning up, then that's not working. But I would recommend trying all of those things proactively. Because if we can show even a slowing in the drawdown, it's going to kind of help. It's going to help our case. But if we don't get our watersheds changed, I'm afraid we're never going to fix it. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Can I just mention one thing? I really think what you're saying and all that, especially with the metering, from what I can gather, just being new to the office and water rights, is a lot of the work they do is the best according to their knowledge. And their knowledge is very limited for, so they can be more conservative. So the more information they have, the more they're able to precisely give you a closer number instead of and not deal with conservative. So I really appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, I think meters, I mean, they have moisture probes and stuff, and I really think we're gonna have to embrace some of this technology and figure out what we need. There's some moisture probes in Parowan, and I said, how do they work? Well, we're not sure we trust them, so we water a little more than they say. So, you know, but we've got to try it all and figure out what's needed.
All right, anybody have any questions for Scott? Scott, does it work to fight the state and just say, no, we're not doing a groundwater management plan?
Yeah, no, they got, but you know what? 2043 is when our first check comes.
Okay,
We had a lot of time to fight them. Let's try and do something. Because we can't just keep chasing the water. It's gonna get too deep. We're not gonna be able to.
so 2043 is your first.
And maybe but anyway, you know.
You're just a young buck.
We gotta try our best to do the best.
Well, and we've talked, we know we can't mine the water. We know it's not sustainable to just keep doing it, but I think there's some things we can try and try to fix and work on before then, so. Okay, thanks, Scott. We'll move on to the next part of the meeting. Mr. Warren Peterson agreed to come down and give us direction and tell us exactly what we're supposed to do in this meeting, so. We're ready, Warren. Maybe that wasn't his exact words, but.
I think I landed in the wrong place. You know, I thought of this just about 10 minutes before I came here, back home. And this, I actually have a presentation I put together for the statewide.
Oh, okay.
I think you don't have a big screen. You got a big screen, but you don't have a projector, so. I'm just gonna use this for my own cue cards, and David, if you can see it from there, good for you. Well, Scott, he's getting up where his eyesight's a little like mine. So. Well, first thing I want to just cheer you on. This is I've got one of the reasons we all like living out here is because we got some space, and if we didn't have water, we wouldn't have a chance to. We wouldn't have anything to do out. I think most of you know that I got tied into the hog farms early on, and I was out yesterday at the forge site. I've never been down to sink either. I went there yesterday. And so there are some things you can do on the desert. You're gonna grow food. Mark straightened me out on this. We're gonna go grow food. We need water. Yeah, it helps. And we can do things like this. This is a nice picture of snow geese. I took that standing in my backyard in Oasis, USA. So you can't do that if you had to. I lived in Bountiful for a while, at least during the weeks. And we had when we were talking, the Watershed Council, I imagine you've all seen it. And if you have, it's a good one to study. When we got talking about watershed councils was back in about 2000, I want to say about 2012. So we all looked at what they were doing in other states and said, we have all these things happen where something's coming up with water and it may affect different people differently. You could use the Ron Thompson, when he was general manager of the Washington County Water Conservancy District, he just round up a watershed council. He'd get anybody that had anything to do with water, get them in a room, and then Ron would plant his big body in the doorway. And ain't nobody got out to do anything. You can go to the bathroom until you solve the problem. So we got looking at that. There's other. We looked at this came from a meeting. We had an editorial. We told them we were talking about watershed councils and getting people around the table to talk about everybody's viewpoint on water, so that you can divvy up what needed to be, or like Scott said, that's a. Don't let me get out of here. Of course, you know more about it than I do, so we have to say, speaking of what we're talking about. But after we talked about all the different people who want water and how much water there is to divvy up, and we thought back, we probably can't. I've been the subject of 2 other Pat Bagley cartoons, and I didn't much like it. but this one, he did all right. So
Mike said you were right.
You have to write and get held us how much better. That's how you know. Okay. Well, so the idea of watershed councils isn't really all that new. How many of you know the story of the Cedar-Beaver River? And how it's watershed council, how watershed councils worked out. They came out kind of like the Groundwater management plan. Cedar-Beaver River was, I think, the 2nd or 3rd river to have a basin of creek. It's not, Cox Decree is unique for Sevier County because Judge Cox did the whole river too. And, they had Judge Cox do those because he knew something about water. And so a lot of decisions are made about water, about people who deal with water. And that's where you come in. Because you know water. You know what water means in your area. How do you get word to the legislature? Well, what these guys did in the Cox Decree is they started litigating the general adjudication. And the first hearing they had on it had so many people participate, so many parties, so many attorneys, they couldn't find a court. So they went up and used the House chamber at the state capitol. And it cost them, I don't remember how much it cost them, something like $1.3 million in 1920 dollars. Well, 1920s dollars to get rid of it. They went up to there and the judge heard their arguments for 3 days and then ruled from the bench. He didn't even take it to study it. And everybody hated his decision so badly. They basically all said, we've tried 30-30s. That didn't get us very far. We tried going, literally. They tried going up each other's dams. That didn't get it. So they formed committees on each subbasin and allocated water in that subbasin and had a committee of the whole system to figure out how to put it all together. And that Cox Decree is the result. It's 236 pages, I think. They took their agreement to Judge Cox. He read all. He read it, made some adjustments, and signed it as the decree. It was a watershed council to put that decree together. It's held now since 1956. So pretty good story. So when we were putting together the Governor Herbert's water strategy, we thought you can have all these people. You've watched the She got the stomach for it. Because they come in there in 45 days, that's studied over summer. Their version of studying water is having 3 meetings during the summer and then nailing it down in 45 days. We never really get water users engaged in that except for a small group. For better or worse, I've been part of that small group. So we put together the idea that let's do like UDOT. UDOT's got all these regional AOGs, associations of government, 6 county, 5 county, you interact. And they put together the transportation plans. Now they're using part of the federal money. I don't think you're ever going to get Reclamation to do quite the way transportation is done, but maybe. They put together the plans for each area. And then there's the state transportation commission, kind of shifts and cycles and puts all that together. And they've got Carlos Caceres, a really good head of the transport, Utah Department of Transportation. We've got Joel Ferry as the head of Utah. We could take a poll here. What happens in this room stays in this room. So if you think they're better off with Carlos Caceres than we are with Joel Ferry, let's start that on. So, but the idea would be to roll up ideas from these local councils into the state and the states do. And we've got a pretty good advocate in that, in several people, advocates, I should say, several people. One of them is Joel. One of them is Casey Snyder, House member from up in, where is it? He lives in Providence. Parowan's Paradise, I forget which one goes.
City, right?
Well, he's up by Lowell, yeah. Really one of those cold places it is. He lives in Paradise. Not a Oasis. Not a Oasis, no. It's not. We teach him a few things. Casey's a pretty lively guy. His background, he was on Congressman Bishop's staff. And he's the doggone energetic and funny, but he thinks these councils are a good way for us to create a model for what UDOT, rolling information up to the state level and getting funded, because you don't see UDOT hiring lobbyists such. They seem to get it in the can without making any noise. Water. So part of your job is to put a bunch of water lobbyists out of business. If we can get local issues figured out, recommended to the state, and then develop a reputation, we've got to build it. Build a reputation for knowing how to manage water, then we start managing water here instead of in the committee room, back room, state capital.
Do you think at sometime in the future, that's the way this will work? The state will actually give us a budget and say, this is what we can spend in your.
Yeah, if Casey gets his way, I think he will, he's in-house leadership. I think he's trying to take us in that direction. So what does it do? Well, you figure it out, what you're really figuring out. This, Carly, now just walk right up here and kick me in the shins whenever you need to. But there's a document that's been put together called Suggestions for a Newly Formed Watershed Council. One of the suggestions is figure out what your vision is, your vision statement, your mission statement. I think your mission statement is to make sure that people, decision makers, know what water policy is needed for your basin, your water, and how much money is needed and how to get it. That's where I'd start.
You know, Warren, I heard a thing the other day that said agriculture is not trying to destroy America, they're trying to feed it.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, that's
Sounds like a mission statement.
That's what I'm trying to feed America.
well, Stephanie, did you get that one? Does it need to say it?
It's in my bones.
It's in your bones. Maybe I'll just talk.
He loves it.
Say it again. Agriculture is not trying to destroy them. We're trying to free them. We could, you know, sorry, you punched it. Some of you aren't old enough to remember it. You put a quarter in and push that on my. You know, there was, get this. All right, 50% of the United States food value, didn't say food, it's a food value, is grown in the Central Valley of California. 50% of America's food value is grown using irrigation. How much food do you grow in the Central Valley? So here's an editorial that's in the American newspaper saying, why do we spend more than half of our water? Water, let that 7% we talked about, we have to take it, they still leave. So you take that now, and you got somewhere, depending on the state in the western US, 50 is 85% water that's taken out of nature and used by people, is used to grow food. Statistics all say for agriculture. What was agriculture? Agriculture grows food. So editorial shows up saying, why do we put over 50% of our water into an industry that only produces 2% of our, represents only 2% of our economy? Isn't that great? Well, the two newspapers I've seen it in one is the Salt Community. And the other one was Los Angeles Times. 50% of the 50% is. So that's another big part. That's another big part of what we're doing at council. It's very important. And making sure people understand we're all in this together. My best answer to why do we spend so much water on 2% of the economy? That we eat. And don't forget it. So when you look at the watershed, I'm not. Whatever do I need to say? Whatever I say here, necessarily not a conclusion. Is well, very need agriculture's message right now is no agriculture, no food, no water, no agriculture. We're all in this together. So don't stop pointing at any particular industry and saying you got to be different. We all know that you don't play the game, you don't kind of pay the price to make sure that your franchise to use water is legitimate. Then people are going to start chipping away. So the other thing to know is that whether we like it or not, we're going through climate cycles. Colorado rivers history. So it happens. How are we going to hang on to this and how are we going to make sure people know that that's not happening because it's happening because it happens? How are we going to keep going through? And of all the watershed councils in Utah, yours, the severe, the barrier, there's a lot of ag, there are lots of something else. The two basically, it's a good area.
Yeah.
They talk about agriculture. I hope.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So yours are going to be a big, important part of the message. So I don't know if you're going to, who's you're the state council on the watershed council?
Tammy Pearson.
Tammy Pearson. But she's sitting outside.
She'll be in here.
All right. Well, when she gets in here, what do you want her to tell? What's the information that should be taken to the state council? The state council's charged with, let me just roll down through some cue cards here. Yeah, the state council is to report to the governor and the legislature each year and the Water Task Force on recommended legislation, to the legislature on recommended funding, and to the governor just on general water policy, what does the governor need to know? And, you know, thank goodness he's an irrigator. At least in name, he's got, I don't think if his 40 acres of alfalfa gets moved this year, I don't think he's gonna be very hungry, but at least he knows the problem. So some of the other pieces of this, I've talked already about trying to model after UDOT, but let's make sure we don't just fall in line and do exactly what they do, because they have a whole lot of federal rules that they have to follow. When we created these watershed councils, three of us that really wrote this thing, so if it doesn't work well, you know, don't blame the other two, not me. Yeah.
Or are you concerned at all with the UDOT, where you have, you know, a large difference in roads are operated and maintained by municipalities, and everybody benefits from a road, and water use is different, where you have a lot of individuals that are involved.
So that's one of about 10 things on the list that I worry about. Because the other is the federal money. They're just a pipeline from federal into transportation. As you all know, the pipeline, it's not exactly a pipeline, the federal money into water. It's more like a fuzzball, and you have to figure out which part of it. Yeah.
How does a council like ours compete against the big four water conservancy districts? If there was a state, I mean,
I don't know, maybe it goes to the big six one. Yeah, this guy helped us a bit too. His name is James Eckman. He's a rancher in California. He's also, you know, he's I don't know if you call him a hybrid or a mongrel. He's an attorney as well. But he was pretty noisy about getting watershed council. So the governor called him up one day and says, "Great, I'm putting you in charge." But in his case, he said, "How much money do you need?" That didn't happen here. So that's one of the things we need to talk about. So this is going to work. You got to have some support. I mean, Stephanie, you've already got a day job.
There's none to pay.
No, hey. Oh, well, this one doesn't either. Yeah, Judy says, "I thought you were retired." She said, "Oh, you have to work with me." Do something.
That's right.
So anyhow, what he said is that the first comprehensive look at state water planning came out of the local councils. Before that, there was no state. To fall back on your question, let's at least try to get a statewide plan that actually draws from local water resources. I was on the water resources board. We did two state water plans. It's there. And it's pretty hard to get good quality local. One thing that Casey Snyder did in House Bill 280, which passed this year, is set the water resources. Thou shalt get into it from the watershed councils. So that planning piece, I think we can do just as well as transportation. We'll do it. The getting money. I thought what you were talking about here was pretty valuable. That's not the only way to get money into water in these places. So if this council can give it away, you can be a leader. I know. Doesn't have to perhaps do that. Help us out. Let's make sure that the money that should be coming here does. Because I bet stuff you don't have a lot to do. Chasing money, right? But if you can use this council for bringing the information together and then work through Parliament or water optimization or other sources you identify, and set up work group and get your state liaisons in. The Division of Water Rights, Division of Water Resources, UDAP. UDAP's some of this. That's pretty good thing. Okay.
Hey, Warren, just Paul.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is, look, and population drives a lot of
Yes, it does.
decision. If population drives water decision, we're in trouble. We're already way behind.
Yeah. So what have you got? You don't have problem. I can show you the charts on that too. 1%, actually it's about 0.98% of Utahns profess to be farmers. Now, these are people that maybe sell tomatoes on the market. And there are people who look at for the time. But by the way the state reports the numbers is 0.98% of Utah's population is involved in farming. So how do you swing the axe just as hard as somebody else? Well, one way is to group your voices together. And
But 1% of the voices, still not very many loud voices, if we keep screaming back from the others.
okay, so I'm gonna ask you a question. Who's got the loudest voice? Brandon Yardley or the Cedar-Beaver Watershed Council?
Yeah.
Is there a lot like solution? I don't think so, but I think we can do a lot better. Yeah. Because the answer is the big four, how to put it together and get their way, basically. We're saying let's take it away from the big four and bring it back to this type of an organization. It's your grassroots information. You belong to another organization that is in grassroots policy and tools at work. Yeah. Well, I'm glad to see it. You say it. I mean, that's how the Farm Bureau policy. So the act, it took us 2 years to put it together. It's right in your document, so I'm going to just kind of preach from the book here for me. It's not what I'm doing already. Preaching from the book. Your job is to develop a diverse and balanced stakeholder forum. So that means you should let anybody in that's got a water. But it should also balance in the way that your watershed set up. So that's why we didn't try to do a one size fits all. And that's why we left it a lot for you to decide who's on the council, as long as you got to balance the interests. So for instance, do you have a reclamation project in your, you don't, in your watersheds? Let's strike that off the list and find groundwater, bumpers. That's a good change. Develop the diverse forum for discussion of water policy and resource issues at a watershed and state level. But it's not vested with regulatory infrastructure financing or enforcement powers. And there's a reason we did that. I wish we could have said in the statute, instead of saying they're not vested with regulatory, that's Division of Water Rights problem. Infrastructure financing, that's Division of Water Resources. Or enforcement, back to water resources. I say not burden, because if you have to take on all those things, all you do is get in a fight over money or who's stealing water. And the invitation that this is for you to use your imaginations and use your eyes and ears and figure out how best to describe the needs for your base. It's also considered to be a place where you can get together and solve problems. Maybe remember Abraham Lincoln said what being president was like? He says it's like the fellow that was run out of town on a rail and tarred and feathered. He says if it wasn't for the honor of the thing, I'd just as soon walk. One of the So I might get run out of town on a rail for statements. But I'm going to tell you a story, and it's my story, so I can tell it well. It has to do with the Central Iron County Water Conservancy. Remind me of the chair, the original chair. Who's the president? Chair of the Water Conservancy. Sheets. I got the name. Elder Schmitz, when Scott Wilson was general manager, came to me one night after the board meeting and said, "Did you go talk to the Beaver County Commission?" They don't listen to Scott. So I did. Went and talked to the Beaver County Commission. He said, here's what I've been talking. West Desert Project. Water from Beaver County, pipelines gonna have to go through Beaver County. You ought to be part of the problem. I don't ask me. And he said, by yourself. Don't bring anybody. Thank me. With me. So I came and talked to Beaver County. And they said, let's start the conversation. You want to be on board? Next thing I know, Scott went and met with Beaver County Commission, and then people were ready for it. I don't know what happened. I don't know how I got from let's talk to let's lawyer up suit. If we'd have had something like this in place where there was a chance for people to get together and talk, I don't think people did a lawyer. I think it would have been worth it. It's a regional problem. There's also this kind of recurring story. You've seen those stories that keep coming up in the literature. The movie that was made first and then it's remade and then remade. There's one in Beaver County called, let's see, Rocky IV versus Kansas Lake versus Rocky IV. Now, I don't know if those things could be solved in this week. But having a group like this is going to be a lot of chance of people get together and just say, let's figure this out to make it work. Instead of getting somebody in a black robe, a bunch of lawyers to figure it out for you. I mean, back to the Cox decree. That's how that was done. By eventually the water users just getting together and saying, folks, we'll figure this out. We'll tell you when we're done. They did. I was on a judicial nominating commission. A friend of mine came in there, had a terrible, he just did a good job. I went off the commission. He says, you're off the commission. You can tell me what I need to do next time I go and interview the judge. I said, yeah. I'll tell you. I did. And appointed. And then he says, I'm going to reward you for your help. I read it. He said, why did you call an attorney IQ of 8? She called him Your Honor. Roll that down in your head. Do you want Your Honor? One problem. There's another here. Sam Klein, the old attorney in Milford, was up arguing in the Supreme Court on the water. Sam was well recognized as a water. And he started reading a section of the water court. The Chief Justice said, Mr. Klein, can it not be presumed that the Supreme Court of the state of Utah knows statutes of the state of Utah? And Sam said, yes, Your Honor, but it's a rebuttable presumption. And then we went on reading. So don't accept the notion that anybody knows more about your situation. You already than you do. Second person, yeah. So if I could just put in a nutshell what your purpose is, it's to gather together the water needs of this basin, work it out between you so you can speak with a united voice. Yeah, a lot of it. But I far more can than what people give you. Give it a real thing. Work it. And then when you start going to UDEP, NRCS, or water resources, or the legislature, or the Utah Watershed Council, you can speak with a clear voice, loud voice, and an accurate assessment of your needs. And that's really what we're asking you to do. Watershed Council. Now, this is a big experience. You're going to work. My name's on it. I hope it works. Maybe I'm just up here speaking the ego. But I hope it's more. Let me just run through a couple other ideas here. One of them, yeah, there's, so can we do it? Utah, envision Utah, a lot of people, anybody can know about envision. It's a non-government planning organization based in Salt Lake City. And what they try to do is just look ahead 20 years. So, but they do values studies with people to see what's really important to people in Utah. They did one in 2014, and then they ran it again in 2020, no, 2021. What's the number one thing on people's minds? Biggest concern people have? Yes, sir. Water. And consider the other things on the list: housing, education, air quality, healthcare, economic development. Water topped all of those in 2014, and they topped all of those in 2020. That's got a real downside as well as an upside. The upside is people paying attention. Yeah, the downside is, what's my language here? They don't want to jack about water. You've seen it in the paper. How many times have you read a newspaper selling it? Don't you love it? Don't have it. Don't have it. So now here's a challenge for you. These folks, these are Italian watershed councils. They are the longest standing democratic organizations in the world. They've been at this since 1400s. One of them is called, I love this, the Council of Wisemen of the Plain of Mercia. So you're all the wise people of the Watershed Council here. The idea is to use good science, good information, good common sense, and put it here. And I put the caption on this: what happens if we don't work together across? What happens if we work together? That's, I don't know, Brandon, I feel like I'm kind of beating the same drum. So maybe the better thing is, do you have questions? Other than when is he going to quit talking? What's I'm on Judy, my wife. We've been married almost for 50 years now. She's put up with this. I just can't stay out of trouble. I'm also the chair now, or soon to be chair of the school trust lands. And a month ago, we were up in Beaver Canyon looking at your watershed. Your watershed up there is in terrible shape. Because you got 200 tons of timber growing on the ground that should have 80 tons. All over that mountain. So, Randy Julian explained this to me. I had him teaching a group about it. He says, picked out one of my staff and said, why don't, her name was Angela. He says, Angela, you got one guy with a big canteen and he's on the edge of the desert. Think he'll get across? She says, depends on how far he's got to go and how big the canteen is. All right, let's just assume he's got enough to get across the desert. Now put 9 more people with him. How are they going to do now? And that's what we've got going on in our watersheds. And I don't know, maybe some of you do. How much did you do for the Beaver River watershed, Minersville, on down to Milford? If you could get something done on sheds, the word we have is to show what's been done on the school person. That's what we're doing, is cutting it from about 200, 250 tons back to 80. And watch the spring start. So that's one thing this group could do. One thing you can do is what, like we've talked about, maybe voice there. Because that is your. The other thing, also work this out, how long can you open? You tell the town council how they can be just as effective as you got AOG in Raleigh. That video, we'll work those.
Of course. And
Of course.
of course. And it's all about what's more. We need a course.
Fine, that's, yeah, well, I was surprised. What's that? I was surprised. Not in a good way. You didn't make us disappointed in what you thought. I'm fine as long as I don't have to stand next to you and do any better than you, so. Questions? Does it make sense? Have we got you on a pool there? I don't think so. I hope. This year, the role of watersheds councils will strengthen. And what we're hoping for is each year. I'll just make this as my final question. No, I'm for this meeting. It's not my final. Is that if you see things that ought to be fixed in the watershed council, I probably know. We can fix it just through the state watershed council and our ability to reshape how this statute's implemented. Well, maybe we need to go place. Fix. And Evan Vickers is as good an advocate as you can ask him. So you're in good shape there. He's in the state leadership. It's good guys. You got a lot of work. If you need to fix something, Evan, the other is. Yeah, making sure that the request for appropriation is so lost. That's what the legislature takes. The government budget says that here's your right to put the money. And if you think of things that would, for the way water takes in these spaces, let's set it up. Well,
What you touched on with the vegetation. My whole condition here, I'm a the ranch in West Edward, and where there's areas where structure marks, danger. What I've heard talk about a lot is out in EJ or whatever, the fire starts, and there's no structure that risks not permanent. Yeah, they're in 5 minutes putting it out. Now we have the sheriff's canyon fire, and those, we can migrate over to Cedar Highlands and there's you got to deal with them. But the areas where some burning, but my father-in-law vision, years ago, he was a gay biologist, and I remember the fire down, it was just east of Pine Valley Mountains, it should have put, they spent millions of dollars. They burned them off. He told me back then, he said, "Paul's gonna be the best vegetation for wildlife there." And we're too anxious. I don't know what the answer is, but we're too anxious about fires. And I'm tired of it. But it doesn't, I don't know. It seems like we got to pick that up.
I'm in agreement. There's a structure or human, but if you like the riding fire, wiping out all the speed one year, it was a good thing. It was a good thing. It's better now. For a minute, was it rather well? I was second. Yeah, and then I went back about keep Maryland's out of the man. We do need to burn off a lot of this year because we need to burn off the feed here. Yeah. I think with the money they're spending, Ryan, and getting it. I was in Milford City Park. Over on the Middle Mountains, we watched it. And we watched film the salt. That said, thank you, send 2 more. But
the WRI seems like that's been the best bang for the buck. Down by the Cold Sand Dunes, I have to go down years ago. They chained a lot of that area. Just I think the west of the Cold Gates. And they left islands and trees for the wildlife. That was beautiful. I mean, the grass, was growing, and I know there was a lot of springs that appeared. I think you're right on money with the vegetation tree.
Fish, Johnson. Just invite him, come. Tell you what we can do before. Yeah, I think we're really sad, I was in that. He's like. He's the forest. We came up and we again. Once you walk. You guys can do more. They had two major projects. One in the south. And then I'll go up the street. You can walk in there, you can see it else, it's like so, like driving by.
That was legislature, what was it, a couple years ago, they did a tour up to trees and with the EFR council or something.
Yeah.
Was pushing that, hey, that's the answer to the basic. Just take the trip.
And then the practice over. Here. So. You know where Ed Johnson is. Yep, having called in.
I know that.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Warren.
Yeah.
That gives us some direction and makes us feel like we're not just having a meeting to have a meeting.
Well, I hope.
Maybe that's what the next meeting will be, is talk about some of that and how to move forward with the next legislative session, so. Okay, the last part of our agenda today is the tour of the Minersville River Watershed Project. So just a little background, and then Seth is gonna say a few things, and then if you guys have time, we'll just run up the river right here. It's 5 minutes and just take a look up there. When I was a kid going to that river, I know it's hard to believe, but I used to fish. Now I don't know which end of the fishing pole to hold and which one to throw, but we would try to fish that river, and it was so thick with Russian olive trees, and there were only about 4 or 5 places you could even get down to the river to fish. And if you need a visual of that, when we leave the fairgrounds here, just look down to the west and you can see the Russian olives that are still there. It was 2 or 3 times thicker than that. These guys, I don't even know what the project was or who was in charge of it, but they came in and wiped out the Russian olive trees, got rid of those, kind of lined the river, made it, beneficial for everybody, the wildlife, the fishing, and to get the water from the reservoir down to the pumpers. I think all of that has helped, and I wanted Seth to just give his perspective of what that has done for the pumpers and the water users, so.
I'll just take a couple. Yeah, so we just did a cooperative agreement, Rocky Point Mine Irrigation Company. We purchased this property up here, some private individuals bought it. I think ultimately we shut it down in public so that they could basically up there. They could went bankrupt. Actually, we purchased that property. We worked with the Utah Department of Natural Resources Division of Water, Wildlife. And the object was just to essentially eliminate the Russian olives, very large consumption of water. But the other problem was to stabilize the banks. So they brought in riprap, a lot of big boulders, a lot of rock to stabilize that from flooding and erosion, which on occasion we do typically get that. And of course, the trees, some of the older trees, who's in to use that. We're not too big of a fan of it, it does cause issues, but it does help the wildlife. And then, so especially the fish, and then by doing so, we allowed working with the DWR to come in and keep it open to the public. So that our kids with fishing poles can go fishing like we used to as kids. And it opened that up significantly. Because the area was such a small area, they felt the water loss was negligible. We don't feel that. It really helped us out quite a bit. And help with that delivery of that water. So we still have an agreement with them. I think the next 4 or 5 years we can open back up the grazing. If we still being fit. One issue we've had is a little bit of encroachment with the rabbit brush. But grazing can help that out, and there's some treatments to do with rabbit brush. We're looking into that. But essentially, we restored the riparian areas, eliminated the Russian olives, tamarack, and
we're trying to make sure that we don't put widows in. Widows are a good stabilization, but then that restricts your fishing and other positive uses for the wildlife, especially fishing. Anyway, so that's essentially what we've been doing. So yeah, you can kind of look down below here to the west and up what we've done. I didn't really have time to. This is kind of a map of that little area or private. It's intermingled with BLM, and essentially they just slashed and took out the Russian olives. Of course, when you take one down, get more pop-ups, you have to go back and treat it. It's piled, and when conditions were right, they were burned. And it's significantly helped us as far as to deliver the water this portion of the fairground where Minersville takes its split and then walk the same up the water there.
How many years did that project, did you work on getting that project, and then how long did it take to?
After we got the property, we worked on, I think, it took about 2 years to get the approval. Then mostly for us, it was instant because it was private property. The hard part was working with the some of the banks do wind up on the. So that was having the BLM and coming with the state or federal government takes time to do that. Actually, that was approved, and working through those agencies, it worked out when we had to contact people. And then we signed on. Essentially, long range project was somewhat around, we were looking for a trail through the walking path. People can walk through and to maintain that open access for people. So that's what we'll have.
I guess that would be my point is, when they first started that project, it looked like nothing was ever gonna happen, it was never gonna get done, but to their credit, they stayed on it. It really wasn't bad, it was achievable, I guess.
No, and after we did our project, I know, Carter, they got the property above there. They also work with them to do the same thing, and they've been removing some of their shallows and piling them some slash piles. And it has only helped. And talking to some private landowners down below, anything we can do to remove that and stabilize the banks at the same time, remove those water consumptive plants that essentially very little to no value for any purpose. With a bit of water, we get the bad guy, the bullies, I guess, in the system. We don't kill it that way. It's hard to be a bully when you don't get it. So you gotta have the water. That's for sure.
No, if you guys have time, we'll just run, take a quick look and then see you have time after that.
And that's probably